Hey everyone, it's Manny. Today I wanted to talk to you about building wealth using your BAH. This is going to be the second video. The first one was about the slow and steady approach. This is going to be more of the supercharged approach, front loading the properties early. That way you can go ahead and build your equity in the properties, you can build your cash flow, you can save the money, and then purchase more multifamilies later on. Single families if you want to as well, but the goal is to get a high cash flowing property so you can generate more doors and generate more income. So the first thing I have is step number one: buy a multifamily as soon as possible. Generally, at some point early in your military career, you'll be living in the dorms, then you'll end up getting kicked out. You'll have to find a place to live. Most people will go and live with other people, renting a room, whatever the case may be. But instead of being that person, why aren't you the person that's going to go ahead and buy the property and rent out rooms to other people? And even better, with a multifamily, you can rent out other units to other people, increasing your chances of cash flow. And if you wanted to, you can also rent rooms within your portion of that multifamily. So with that, as soon as you're eligible to get a home, as soon as you're out of the dorms, my suggestion would be to target a multifamily property, something that has tenants in it already. That way you can capture the already steady state of that income towards you, right? So that income can count for you in a positive way that can offset your debt to income ratio so you can qualify for the property better. I would also, with that, target a multifamily that already has tenants in it, and I would target something that is going to eat up about half of my VA entitlement. You don't want to get rid of it all because you want to be able to use some of that for your next purchase. With that, you want to make sure that one of the units is available to you so you can move into one of the units, because that's going to be a qualifying factor for a VA loan in buying a multifamily. And you will look into 1 to 4 unit property, so a duplex, triplex, quadplex, and make sure that you can move into one of those units within 60 days of closing. That's important. That's a big qualifying factor. The next thing with step 1 is going to be get yourself a property manager. Get yourself a property manager early, because more than likely you don't have property manager experience. And if you don't have property manager experience, then that income won't count towards you. So in hiring a property manager, they can go ahead and assess the rents for that property, and then we would be able to get that income from the other units and count it towards you in a way that would offset your debt to income ratio. After the first year, you can go ahead and get rid of the property manager if you wanted to. That way you can start building your own property manager experience for the future. I don't have a specific recommendation whether or not you should do that, but it's just a consideration that I want to throw your way. When you are applying for a new mortgage in the future, they're going to look for you to use future rents as income. They'll want to see that you have property manager experience, and generally a year is the good number for that. All right, step number 2 is going to be living in the house for at least a year. So you want to make sure that you're living in the house for at least a year. I would say that 2 years is a better number if possible, but if you find some smoke and deal within year 1 to year 2, you want to be able to posture yourself to go ahead and jump on it. But I would at least start looking for properties after the first year. Now that you have the experience, you kind of know what you're looking for, you got your feet wet, you can go ahead and start looking. Like I said, 2 years is a good number, because at that point you should have been claiming the rental income on your taxes, and you'll have a 2-year history at that point. And then the income that is being generated from your first property will offset the purchase of the next property. Along with step number 2, make sure that you are saving all of the income that you have coming in from your rental property. Set it aside. Don't even count it towards anything, just set it aside, because that is going to help you in the purchasing of your next few properties. After your first year or your second year, at that point, you want to go on a serious hunt for the next rental property. I would start looking for another multifamily. Like I said in step 1, you want to go ahead and use only half of your VA entitlement. So for this property, your second property, you are now going to use the second half or more of VA entitlement. You should have property manager experience at this point, or a property manager that you're using. You should have claimed the rents on your taxes, and now your second property should be an easy qualifying property. So when you do find that second property and you're under contract and you're purchasing it, once you do purchase it, same things apply. You want to make sure that one of the units is open to you, that you can move into it within 60 days of closing, and basically go all the way back to step one and just rinse and repeat. You may not need a property manager because you have property manager experience. If that's the case and you're doing it all yourself, make sure you seek appropriate legal counsel, that you are generating appropriate leases for your properties, and that you are saving all the money associated with it. Like I said, just go back to the beginning and kind of repeat it all. After you've been living in your second property for about 2 years, at that point, you should start looking into getting your next property. Once again, I would then start looking into getting another multifamily. With all the rents that you should have saved from the first property, you should have somewhere between 5 to 20% down on your third property. So with your third property, you want to make sure that you know how much you need to put down, and because you have 2 multifamilies under your belt already, you should have a good general idea of kind of what the market pricing for a multifamily is, and make sure you have that 5 to 20% saved, and go ahead and purchase the next property. If you have the 5 to 20% down, you should be searching for property number 3. Purchase property number 3, conventional loan more than likely, and rinse and repeat. Start at the beginning. At that point, you should have 2 to 3 multifamilies under your belt, and that should have taken you about 6 years. At this point, you can probably sit back, chill out, collect the rents, and take a hard look at your goals and what you want to accomplish in the future. This is a good breathing point. Being able to get to the point where you have 3 multifamilies is a great thing. So, like I said, just kind of sit back, chill out. There's a bunch of things that you may want to consider after having your 3. You can go ahead and start thinking about, depending on the cost, how much they're generating in revenue. You may want to consider paying off one of the first ones and what can be done to go ahead and free up some of that VA eligibility. Entitlement. For some reason I keep saying eligibility, but I mean entitlement. So at this point, you may want to look into, is it feasible to pay off one of the earlier properties in order to free up VA entitlement? And if you can't pay it off, would it be worthwhile to refinance it under a conventional loan in order to free up VA entitlement? Because if you do free up that VA entitlement, at that point, you can purchase another multifamily under a VA loan. I think once you get to the point where you do have 3 multifamilies or 3 single family residences, whatever is going to work out best for you, you'll be able to really see the benefits of real estate at that point and having cash flowing properties. And the goal of this is to front load everything at the beginning so that you're doing the harder work within the first 6 years, getting the properties, getting under contract, using your VA loan, and then you can sit back and wait. I've known people that have turned multifamilies into apartment complexes, because when they purchase the multifamilies and then they sell them later, it generated enough to where they could have that 20% down available to buy an apartment complex. And that may not be your overall goal, is to buy an apartment complex, but if you read real estate books and you look at how people have built wealth, real estate has been one of the best vehicles to do that. You can look at, I read the book by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I forget the exact name of it, but Basically, he started out and he started in real estate. He bought properties and he was essentially living for free because other people were paying for the other units of what he bought. And I think we can learn a good lesson from that. And like I've said before, being active duty and being in the military gives us such a good opportunity to purchase properties. And it's because our income is stable. Lenders like that. It's basically contractual. You know, you make rank and it's all set on a pay table. You're going to make X amount of dollars. That stability of income is what lenders really, really like. So I think use that opportunity while you're in to acquire some properties. That way your long-term future, your long-term wealth will be established. I just wanted to say thank you for watching. I hope the video was insightful. I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions ever about real estate related things, lending things, you want to figure out if you would be pre-approved for a loan, just reach out. I love talking to people about real estate and lending and seeing how I can help them, you know, grow their future. So thank you for watching, and until next time.